Hey guys, I'm going to try something I haven't in a while, which is an unedited short rest on a topic that many people have asked me about, and that is how do I come up with the monsters that I use for DC20. So I figured I could walk you guys through my thought process. I use Roll20 as my VTT of choice for running DC20, and I have worked really hard to make it work well within Roll20. Uh, when I first started using Roll20 for DC20, I would actually photocopy character sheets, physical character sheets, and send them to people, and we would just use the dice roller. And even in that instance, I needed to have some way to create monsters, to have something to run. And even with the new character sheets that have been put out, I still find that, at least for me right now, this is the best that I have to work with, is this handout that I have made in Roll20. It allows me to quickly, at a glance, gather all the information that I need in order to run a monster. So while I know it's not the prettiest or the best, what Dungeon Coach has created is definitely better. And when I have that tool in my hands, I will definitely prefer that. But anyway, here is my thought process. And I thought a vampire spawn would be an interesting monster to make. I should also preface that if you guys are interested, I was thinking about doing a live stream sometime where people could give me suggestions of monsters that you would like to see built, and I can take a crack at making them. But so I have here just a basic template, which has its M for might, A for agility, C for charisma, I for intelligence, its PD, its MD, and its HP, just as its basic stats that I figured that I needed to know. Because I can figure out a lot of the other stuff that it would have, be it saving throws or anything else, based on the four main attributes. And then I don't really need heavy and brutal hits. I can usually calculate them pretty quick. But I could also put slashes in with them. I usually don't. But the first that I'm going to look at is might. And looking at the vampire spawn, so might in DC20 is kind of a combination of strength and constitution. And I wanted to actually show you guys one more thing. So I'm going to flip over to the spreadsheet. So if you look at the red is the D&D challenge ratings, starting at 1/8. There are 0 challenge rating monsters in 5th edition, but they're pretty much, you never encounter them. They're like commoners in that. So I started mine at 1/8, and then I have the equivalent creature level for DC20, as well as a proposed combat mastery and a proposed prime modifier for those challenge ratings. So at 1/8, we have the equivalent of a novice level monster for DC20, with a combat mastery proposed of 0 and a prime modifier proposed of 2. I would not hold myself to this, and you'll see when we build this monster that I kind of use this as a guideline. And if I feel like the monster should break this mold at all, like have a higher prime modifier or something, I will go like one above, depending on what it is and what, like how its stats are built out in 5th edition. Then, of course, 1/4 being equal to a creature of level 0 in DC20. Half is equal to a creature 1, level 1 in DC20, and so on. And essentially, once you get up to a challenge rating of 1 in D&D, then the DC20 monsters are going to be 1 level higher than the D&D counterpart. And this helps me to take into account all of the challenge ratings that you would encounter in Dungeons and Dragons, moving them over to DC20. So, with that in mind, I'll flip back here quick. The Vampire Spawn is a challenge 5. So, challenge rating 5 is a DC20 creature level 6 with a combat mastery plus 3 and a prime modifier max of 4. However, looking at its strength is plus 3, and looking at its constitution is plus 3. I was thinking at minimum I would go plus 4. I probably wouldn't go all the way to plus 6, but maybe I'm thinking its mental stats aren't that great. So I was thinking it could have a plus 5, might. I need some way to represent the fact that it has such good physical stats. And for now, I'm going to put plus 5, and I will just come back and think about that later. The dex, I would just copy that straight to agility unless there was some reason that I thought that didn't fit. So I would just go plus 3 agility. Charisma is the same between DC20 and D&D, so I would typically just copy that over at plus 1. And intelligence in DC20 is a combination of intelligence and wisdom. So I would usually do the same thing that I did with strength and constitution. Look at them, try to combine them into one stat, not necessarily adding them together, but smoothing it over so that it made sense as one stat. They're both plus 0. So I would probably just put a 0. So the next thing would be its physical defense. I usually follow the same rules as players would. I know that you don't have to do that, but I think it gives me a good baseline. And then if I feel like I need to adjust it up or down, I can. So if it is a 5th level challenge rating, and it's a creature level 6 with a combat mastery plus 3, the formula would be 8 plus combat mastery of 3, so 11, plus its agility of 3, so 14. And it says it has natural armor in 5th edition, giving it up to a 15. However, I could see just giving it that plus 1 bonus from novice armor. And then I have no problem giving it a 15 PD. MD, of course, doesn't exist in D&D, so we just have to figure it out. And I would, again, usually follow the formula and then kind of adjust it from there if I thought it needed it. But that is 8 plus combat mastery, so 11, because the combat mastery will be 3, plus its charisma and intelligence, which is only plus 1 from charisma, so it will have an MD of 12. That feels about right, so I think that's pretty solid. When we look at its hit points, in D&D, the proposed average hit points is 82. Obviously, that is way too much for DC20. So I usually quarter the hit points or somewhere in that ballpark. So a quarter of them would be 20.5, which would be round to 21. 21 feels right for this creature. It is a creature of DC 20 level 6, challenge rating 5 for D&D. So yeah, 21 doesn't, I mean, this isn't the full-blown vampire either. It's just the spawn. So I think 21, I think that's a good number. And let's see, skills. So I usually actually just copy the D&D skills and then make them make sense if there are skills. So perception, of course, becomes awareness. Stealth can stay stealth. And then just make sure that it makes sense. So awareness in DC20 is based on prime. So if prime is +5 for this character, it would be minimum +7. So we'll make that +7. And stealth is based on agility. Actually, I'm wrong. Oh yeah, it would be based on prime for awareness. And then stealth, it would be 3 plus whatever training the vampire has. I'm going to actually bump it up to 7 also, based on that 3 agility, and then say that the vampire is probably adept at stealth, getting +4 bonus. For senses, I again usually take what's there. Dark vision for sure. Except I will put it as 10 spaces instead of the 60 feet, part of converting it over to DC20. I'm going to actually add an extra box up here, and it's going to be the saving throws. Sometimes I add boxes, sometimes I take them away. It depends if like whatever's there makes sense. But the vampire has agility, an agility saving throw bonus. For 5th edition, it's +6. So this is based on combat mastery, which is, let's refer to my sheet again. Combat mastery 3. So 6 actually makes sense because it would be the 3 for agility plus 3 for combat mastery. So agility +6 can be the same as the dexterity bonus for the saving throws for the 5th edition vampire. And then wisdom does not exist in DC20. Just intelligence instead is both wisdom and intelligence combined. But the cool thing here is the vampire has an intelligence of 0, and plus combat mastery is +3. And the vampire spawn in 5th edition has a wisdom bonus +3. So I would just say that it has an intelligence +3. And one thing that I hope you guys can see here is that converting D&D5e to DC20 is almost 1-to-1. It's not quite 1-to-1. There's some things you obviously have to change, like you only have 4 attributes instead of 6, so you have to kind of smooth strength and constitution into one stat, and you have to kind of smooth intelligence and wisdom into one stat, and then also dexterity and charisma. You can't always just take the numbers. You have to kind of think about it a little bit, but largely the stats, the ability attributes for this vampire spawn are 1-to-1, with the exception of might. And even the armor class, the PD, is 15. The saving throws, agility +6, intelligence +3, and I got those numbers just from the core rules, as if you were building a character. So, all right. So languages, the languages that it knew in life. It's pretty generic, but I will put it in there so I have it. For XP, actually, it kind of depends. So what I've been doing is I have been putting the 5th edition XP over, and the reason is I have been awarding fifth edition XP and using the fifth edition level progression for the games that I run, because there is no real guidance yet other than milestone. And I figure if you're fighting fifth edition monsters, awarding you fifth edition equivalent XP, and then putting you on the fifth edition level progression is a fine way to do it. I know that currently there's only 2 levels officially out, but I've been homebrewing whatever my players need, including subclasses and things to get them to level 3, eventually level 4 and beyond. Honestly, as long as I can keep playing DC20, I'll homebrew whatever I need to in the meantime to be able to play the game. But in the XP line, I also like to put its combat mastery, which in this case is 3, and maybe also its creature level, which is 6. So equipment, if it had equipment, I could put it there. I know I wanted to have light novice armor, and I would probably give it some kind of a weapon, maybe a short sword. I know the 5th edition one doesn't actually have a weapon. They rely on their claws or their bite, and then they do have other types of vampire spawns that have weapons. But for mine, in general, I would like it to have some kind of equipment. So, all right. So now we're down to its attacks. So the 5th edition one has a bite. I have to have the bite for sure. And it has claws. I'm going to add one more box because I have a short sword on this character. All right, so we need its bonus to hit. And its bonus to hit is going to be the same regardless of what it uses. It's going to be using Prime, which is 5, and Combat Mastery. So this is where I kind of get into a little bit of a problem with that +5 might. And where maybe I do need to go with a 4. I can make it less. So the 5th edition vampire spawn has +6 to hit. But my vampire spawn is going to have +8 to hit if I keep a prime of 5, a might of 5. So I think I'm going to actually drop that back down to 4. And checking my math on this, prime of 4 makes sense. Now, that would also mean that technically its awareness would come down by 1 to 6. But I'm fine with that. I think that's fine. And now the to hit would be +7. So it is 1 higher than the 5th edition vampire spawn, but I think it's fine. In comparison to the 5th edition version, this is going to be more of a glass cannon in a lot of ways because it only has 21 hit points versus the 82 that the 5th edition version has. And I know that typically you hit for less damage in DC20, but I have seen optimized characters who do minimum 3 damage and who oftentimes will hit for 8, 9, even 10 damage. So I think having an extra +1 to hit is probably fine. And again, so basically I've just, instead of taking what's in 5th edition, I've calculated it as if it was a character, which it's combat mastery plus prime for its attack modifier, 3 from combat mastery, 4 from prime. We have our 7 to hit, +7 to hit. And I look at the 5th edition version as a guideline, and again, +6, 1 point higher is fine. Now, as far as the damage, this is another one of the areas that it's tough to adjudicate because you want it to be fair for DC20, but yet uh, give you the feel of um, the feel of the 5th edition version. So when I look at the damage for the bite, we have a D6 plus 3 piercing plus 2d6 necrotic damage. Well, first of all, necrotic damage doesn't exist in DC20. It's umbral damage. I think umbral would be fine. That would fit. Necrotic in DC20 got split into corrosive and also uh, umbral. So umbral is like the dark side of necrotic, and corrosive is the flesh-eating side of necrotic. But corrosive doesn't feel right for a vampire bite, so I think it's got to be umbral. And what I would do with this is, instead of it being 2d6 necrotic, of course, I would probably call it 2 umbral. And then the piercing, I would probably honestly call it 1 piercing. It seems right for a bite. So it would be 1 piercing plus 2 umbral. Now, there is a little bit extra, so I'm going to put a star. And the bite does something special with the umbral end of things. Also, the fact that it needs to be a willing creature or a creature that is grappled by the vampire, incapacitated, or restrained. So I think what I would do is actually just put another asterisk here, and the range is melee. If I needed a room for like specials, I would put it. Largely, I don't find that I need it, or I might put the specials in either the damage or the range box. But the claws, we have also +7 to hit. The damage on the claws in D&D is 2d4 plus 3 slashing. And instead of dealing damage, they can grapple the target. So 2d4 plus 3 damage converted to DC20. See, I would tend to go with claws doing 1 slashing, and maybe I give the claws impact, probably. And I find that in DC20, that's one way that you can have a higher threshold for damage without starting the base at 2. And an attack like claws feels like it should be 1, but if you give it impact, then on a good solid hit, it does more damage than it would. So let's do that. Let's do 1 slashing, and then we'll give it impact. And that's how I would add the properties if I wanted to. It would be like I just did, adding impact under damage. And then, of course, we have melee. I would put another one of these parentheses and add can choose to grapple instead of damage. So if it hits with its claws, instead of dealing damage, it can just outright grapple. The DC to escape that grapple is low for this creature. So the DCs for DC20, if you were calculating it for a player, it's 10 plus prime plus combat mastery. So this escape would be 17. Now the D&D version 13. But I think it could just be a contested roll. I don't think it needs that set DC to escape the grapple. I think it can just grapple you, and then just like you would escape from any grapple, the vampire would just use athletics to hold on to you. Short sword, it is one slashing impact. You know what, though? So I did give him a short sword, and short sword is a guard weapon. So in parentheses here, I would put a 16, because if he was wielding the short sword, it would bump up his physical defense by 1, because it is a guard weapon. And, you know, I will put guard in here just to remind me that it is a guard weapon, and then that is also melee. Now, for special abilities, because, you know, Vampire's got a lot of special abilities. So, let's see. Can I put this in there? Multi-attack. The Vampire makes 2 attacks, only one of which can be a bite attack. I think I would put... I think it would pretty much follow suit anyway, but just as a notation so that I know the vampire can make 1 sword attack and 1 claw attack using dual wielding rules. Just so that I know, like, I remember that the vampire can do that. So he can make 1 attack with the sword, 1 attack with the claws, and not suffer from the multiple check penalty. But the vampire has a lot of other fun abilities, one of which is regeneration. So one thing when you're copying 5th edition over to a Roll20 handout is it doesn't like when you copy that first letter of the word for some reason. So I copy everything but that. And then I need to make this make sense in DC20. So the vampire regains, it's not going to be 10 hit points. I was honestly thinking 3 hit points at the start of its turn if it has at least 1 hit point and isn't in sunlight or running water. If the vampire takes radiant damage or damage from holy water, this trait doesn't function at the start of the vampire's next turn. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. Is that a passive, or should that cost action point? Should it be a reaction? I'm going to just leave it as it is for right now. The next one is Spider Climb. This one should pretty much copy over as is. Vampire can climb difficult surfaces. Yeah, that's all fine. Nothing to change there. Some of the vampire weaknesses are very weird. But I'm going to copy it over anyway, and I'm going to have to tweak some of it. I can tell just by looking at it, because it uses some language that doesn't make sense in DC20. So the vampire has the following flaws. Forbiddance. The vampire can't enter a residence without invitation. Okay. Harmed by running water. So interestingly, there is no, like, even in 5th edition, there is no like mechanic for that other than they don't regain their regeneration hit points at the start of their turn if they're in running water. Oh, nope, there it is. The vampire takes 20 acid damage when it ends its turn in running water. Okay. So, obviously, that's not going to be 20 acid damage, but I think 2 corrosive damage makes sense. 2 corrosive damage. I've never dealt with a vampire that actually ended its turn in running water where it was relevant. So I do apologize. I didn't realize it was there. Anyway, moving on. So we've shrunk the damage from 20 to 2 because that's more in line with DC20, and changed it from acid to corrosive. Stake to the heart. The vampire is destroyed if a piercing weapon made of wood is driven into its heart while it's incapacitated in its resting place. Sunlight hypersensitivity. Vampire takes, again, that can't be 20, so we're going to make that 2. Radiant damage when it starts its turn in sunlight. While in sunlight, it has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to change that. I thought I was going to go just change into 20 to 2, but let's make it 3, because it is the equivalent of its regeneration. So not only would it not regenerate in those instances, but it would take the same amount of damage that it would regain. And the other thing is, it's a 1/7 of its hit points. So it definitely would not survive very long in those situations. Cool. Of course, looking at the mechanics here, while in sunlight, disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks makes perfect sense in DC20. And since disadvantage stacks, if they were under this effect and they had disadvantage from something else, they would end up with double disadvantage. Very cool. And they would also have the ability to spend the extra action points to overcome the disadvantage, but it's going to chew through their action economy if they are trying to fight while in sunlight. So very cool for DC20. Now, the only other thing that I really need to encompass in here is the intricacy of the bite. So I think what I would do is copy over the bite. I'm going to copy the entire thing and probably change it some, but I'm going to put a star. Okay, so I need to change these numbers to be what it is in the stat block. So it's +7 to hit. Reach is 1 space. So it's largely, honestly, is a lot of changing language so that it matches what DC20's language is, changing feet to spaces. In this case, I had to change the attack modifier. So this will tell me that information about it having to be grappled or strained, whatever. We said that this was 1 piercing damage. Plus, we said it was 2. And it wasn't necrotic, it is umbral. The target's max hit point maximum is reduced by an amount equal to the, change that again, umbral. The vampire regains hit points equal to that amount. The reduction lasts until the target finishes a long rest. The target dies. Okay. So, anyway, we have created our vampire spawn minus, I like to usually add a picture. But we have our vampire spawn now. And if I needed, this vampire spawn, essentially, I have over here, I have my monster compendium folder and the vampire spawn stat block. I open it up, and there's all the stats that I need to run this monster. So that is how I organize my monsters. Any DM, GM would know that you need a very organized way to quickly understand a monster that you're running. Again, not having an official character sheet for Roll20 for monsters. When I first started running DC20, I knew I needed something, so I created this simple little handout that lets me very easily organize and convert monsters from 5th edition to DC20. And then the other thing that I would do is say like drag out the monster. It will put it over here in the journal. Um, I think you guys can see all of that. I would make the hit points what I want them to be. So in this case, 21. I use the blue bar for action points, so I would make it 4. I usually make it so that the players can see that bar, but they can't see the total, but they can see how injured it is. I actually have an API script running on this game to where it should show a green halo once I finish. But then if I put the nameplate, update default token, so only I can see that nameplate, but it kind of helps me. And then save settings. So you could see here, vampire spawn. It has its 21 hit points, and then that green halo. So I actually really like this API. Let me see if I could put him somewhere that he stands out. Okay, and then if he takes damage, so this is going off script a bit more than just talking about the creation. But if let's say he takes 5 damage, you'll see like those blood splatters, and now he has like a yellow thing. If he takes 5 more damage, now that yellow is turning almost orange. If he takes 5 more damage, now it's like really dark. 5 more damage, now it's like red, where he's almost dead. And then if he ends up, say, taking 3 more damage, now he's at -2 and X'd out. I really do like that API. But so the cool thing is now, if I drag out this vampire spawn, it comes out with its hit point bar, its action point bar, green halo for also how damaged it is. And now what I would do is move the vampire spawn stat block out of my blank sheets, and then I would put it. This folder is not organized alphabetically. So I would just stick it at the end. I do need to get an image for it, which will likely be the same image that I am currently using for the token. But so there's that. And one of my players, he updated the character sheet that somebody had made for. So somebody had made a character sheet for Roll20 a while ago, and I guess that person stopped working on it or something, but it really hasn't been updated in a while, I think. So one of my players took that HTML code and he worked with it, and I'll show you that quick. So while not as flashy as the sheet for Foundry, this sheet does allow level progression. It automatically changes to combat mastery when you get to level 3. Now it's going to be finicky on me. It does let you put your might, your ability scores to however you want them. It does let you put your training level with whatever the skill is. We go. And one of the things that he did, this is my player, is he tied the action point tracker here to the token, so that let me see if I drag this token out here, and I need to tell it that this is action points. Make that 4, and then now if I tick off the action points on here, it changes the bar. It didn't change the bar that time. So it's a little finicky. There we go. And as I tick them back off, maybe it was just that first time ticking the boxes, but now it's working fine. So that's kind of cool. He also added checkboxes for guard weapons. So if you have guard weapons equipped, it will increase your physical defense. He has options for a shield if you have a shield equipped. If you roll something like, say we make this athletics roll, it will pop up and ask you what kind of advantage you have. If you have any extra modifiers, and it will roll it out. And if it's an attack, so let's say we have a dagger, it does 1 damage, slashing. So if I click the roll, it will ask if I have advantage or not. Let's say I have advantage. Is the target flanked? If I tell it yes, it will automatically add in that bonus for flanking. And, well, critical. So, anyway, I think this was really cool. And I definitely want to shout out to our player, Narina, who has updated this character sheet for us. So it does a lot of really cool things. There's other things that it does currently. One of the things is temporary hit points. If you have temporary hit points, it will add them to your hit point total, but it won't mix the temps and the regulars. So as you tick off the temps, it will tick them down. But what it allows you to do is add temporary hit points to the token without blending them in with your regular hit points. And the exhaustion. So if you have levels of exhaustion, these will add. So let's say you had 3 levels of exhaustion, and then you roll this dagger attack, no advantage and not flanked, and no extra modifiers. You guys can't see that because I'm in the way, but it did add a -3 modifier to the die roll. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So definitely shout out to Narina for fixing that. I have posted that on the updated sheet in the VTT section of Dungeon Coach's Discord. Definite shout out to the Dungeon Coach, who without him we wouldn't have DC20. And shout out to our 2 patrons, Strato Nexus and Trixie Ray. We definitely appreciate your support. And to all of our subscribers, viewers, people playing in our games on startplaying.games, I do want to take a quick moment to mention that we have many openings now in a game on Friday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US. It is a 5th edition game using all of the Phandalin adjacent modules, and you can kind of tackle them in whatever order you want. Allie is actually the DM for that game, but she does a great job with it, as any of the people playing currently in Monday's Problems in Phandalin, as she calls it, DC20 game. We're actually co-running that, in that she runs the world and I run the DC20 combat and skill challenge end of things. However, the Friday game is just her game of running the world and 5th edition, which she does a great job with. We have 1 player currently, and we're looking for 2 to 3 more. So if you want to go on a 5th edition adventure, this is a good opportunity to do that. I also have 1 opening Saturdays, 2 p.m. Eastern, in DC20 conversion of Lost Mines of Phandelver that I did. The players are currently level 3. They have custom subclasses that I built based on 5th edition subclasses. So another good opportunity if you want to experience what's possible in DC20 beyond level 2. Check us out. I'll have the link in the description. And yeah, with that, I think I'm done with this short rest. But I hope you found this interesting. Again, let me know in the comments if you would like to see us or me or us anyway, if you'd like to see us live where we can build some monsters together versus just like this where it was just like kind of a me building something, but then we could do it together. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. And until next time, keep rolling with us.